In today's video, we're going to take a break from our standard series for a bit to cover some of the new cards being announced in Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, which is set to release in mid-June. We've gotten a lot of really cool announcements, especially if you're a Lord of the Rings fan with some really cool products. But today we're going to take a look at the 5 legendary lands, one for each color, that are going to be released in this set and see how they might be. So let's jump into the video. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. If you do enjoy it, please hit the like button and subscribe. Consider clicking the bell icon if you want to stay notified to the channel for updates when videos are posted. But I know some people like to keep their notifications clean, so no harm, no foul on this. Just, check back. We post videos, every couple of days at the very least. Sometimes more during heavier seasons as I'm trying to incorporate more content here. But that's enough talking from me. So we've got Lord of the Rings. This set releases officially on June 23rd, although there will be a pre-release before that, and there will be more products coming out for the set later in the year. But there's plenty of stuff to cover, and I wanted to talk today about the 5 legendary lands. We knew we were going to be getting one for each color, and some of them seem very good, while some are not as good, maybe if people find a way to break them. I don't know, but right now I think there's a couple that definitely stand out above some of the others. Now, a quick note, these are not standard legal, so if you've been following my Magic the Gathering content just for standard purposes, understand that this set is actually straight to modern, meaning it's legal in the modern format and any eternal formats, such as Legacy, Commander, Vintage, etc. But there is a large amount of people who play those formats, and I definitely think some of these lands will see some play, so we're going to go ahead and get into them. Now, I should probably mention that I am not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan. I definitely find it to be an enjoyable franchise, and I've seen 2 of the 3 main Lord of the Rings movies, but I am not a diehard fan by any stretch. That being said, I apologize in advance if I mispronounce any of these names, because I'm sure someone's going to be offended by it. But we've got what I believe is Barad-dûr, or Barad-dûr, I don't know, bite me if you don't like it. This is a legendary land, and this is the mono black. It says, Barad-dûr enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. You can tap it to add 1 black mana, or you can pay 2x and a black to amass Orcs X. Activate only if a creature died this turn. Amass is similar to the existing mechanic for amassing zombie army tokens, except instead, you either create an orc army token and put counters on it equal to whatever X's value is, or you just place counters if you already have a token. That's relevant for a lot of cards in the set, but for the purposes of going over these cards, I believe this is the only one that actually utilizes the amass mechanic. This isn't terrible, but it's also hindered by the fact that the amass mechanic is kind of lackluster, specifically because of the way it's worded, such that if you already control an army token, you cannot create a new one. So while it's nice to be able to stack counters up on your orc army, it's also very fragile, meaning that if the opponent gets over it, all that time and mana you spent trying to make it work is basically for naught, and that is why I think this card is kind of on the lower end of really solid options for the set. I'm sure some people might use it, and if you're playing a deck that specializes around the amass mechanic, it could easily be useful, but it's definitely on the lower end for me. Next up is Minas Tirith. I think I got that one right, although I'm not 100% sure. This is a legendary land, and this is for white, and it says this ETB is tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Now, you can tap to add 1 white mana, or you can pay 1 and a white and tap to draw a card. And you can only activate this effect if you attack with 2 or more creatures this turn. Now, I have to say, this one is insanely powerful, and I'm glad it's not standard legal, but also a little sad that it's not standard legal, because mono white would definitely enjoy this card. It's basically like another version of Wedding Announcement. The draw power for relatively low mana investment could really help you to maintain resources throughout the game. I like this one a lot. It's a legendary land that just gives you another option, but attacking with 2 or more creatures is not the hardest thing in the world to do, and especially if you're playing, with the new ring mechanic, or just in Commander in general, where you should have access to legendary creatures all the time, it's not going to be hard to resolve this one. Minas Tirith, I think, is easily the strongest option out of the mainline series of lands. Minas Tirith is definitely one of the strongest options out of the lands that we've seen here. Next up is Rivendell. This is the mono blue or blue land. I don't know why I keep saying mono, like that means something in this case, but Rivendell ETB is tapped unless you control a legendary creature. You can tap it and add 1 blue mana, or you can pay 1 and a blue and tap to scry 2. Activate only if you control a legendary creature. So it doesn't inherently give you any resources directly, but it does allow you to sort of dig a little bit deeper into the deck and maybe improve your consistency. And there are some cards in this set that actually benefit from scrying, that allow you to draw if you scry, or, you know, do other things if you scry. So I suppose from a modern perspective, there could maybe be something there. I am not an expert on that format at all. I have barely played it. I do not want to, you know, comment on it beyond just reading the card and saying, okay, this looks solid. But I could see, you know, in Commander, it's definitely not the worst option if you're playing legendaries, because, you know, you get the temples that let you scry, but this one kind of does it without having to come in tapped. I think in most cases it's probably just going to come out regular. It's really kind of right in the middle. It's not bad or anything, but it's just sort of there, and unless there's something I'm missing with it, I do think it's aggressively fine, and if it's cheap, will probably worth inclusion in a deck if you can benefit from the scrying. But if it ends up being expensive for whatever reason, then I don't know. There's probably better options. All right, so we got 2 lands left out of the 5. We're going to take a quick booster break. We're going to crack open some booster packs here. It's just a fun segment we've been introducing to the videos, taking a bit of a break from the main topic to open up some random packs. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into that, and we'll be right back with you. In today's booster break, we've got 3 packs to open up, and we are continuing doing the same ones we did in the previous video because I have a pretty sizable amount of those to go through. So we've got a pack of Aftermath Epilogue, a pack of Kamigawa and Phyrexia, all standard legal sets, and all with some potentially decent pulls, although, you know, a lot harder to get than some other stuff without a doubt. We're going to go ahead and move these cards in the front to the back here because I believe if there is a rare, it would be there. So let's see, we've got a Rebel token, and then we've got a Cephalopod Sentry, Thrumming Bird, Glistener Seer, Kuldotha Cackler, Mesmerizing Dose, Mirren Bardiche, Hexgold Slash, Fleshless Gladiator, Mur Custodian, Furnace Strider, Tyrannax Atrocity, Forest, so our rare is going to be after this, Meldweb Curator, and the rare is Zenith Chronicler. Whenever a player casts their first multicolored spell each turn, each other player draws a card, and that's the only rare. So, you know, you do have a very, very small chance of hitting the concept art Praetor mythics in the draft booster pack, so that would have been like, that's like, you know, big end, sort of what I'd be hoping for. Let's go Epilogue next. Let's see what we've got. Coppercoat Vanguard, exceptionally good card, actually. Tolarian Contempt. And then Deification as the rare. And then we've got a Filter Out, which is not bad, actually, for an uncommon. And Open the Way again, this time in Retro Frame. I pulled this in the last one as well. Not bad, though. I do think Filter Out's actually like a little over $1 for an uncommon, so it's not too bad for that. And then last up, we've got Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Again, it does have some good hits with the legendary channel lands, as well as a few other scattered cards. Fatal Mirror Breaker, you know, it is banned, but it's still got some good value because it is legal in other formats. We've got Iron Apprentice, Geothermal Kami, Futurist Sentinel, Wanderer's Intervention, Unstoppable Ogre, Debt to the Kami, Voltage Surge, Twisted Embrace, An Era of Enlightenment, Ghost Shintai of Shared Purpose, Banishing Slash, Nizumi Prowler, very autumn heavy there, the Dragon Kami Reborn as our rare, and then Tawashi Song Shaper. So, oh, I missed one. It's one of those lands, so it's not really that important. Not a great saga, not a terrible saga, but it doesn't really see play in any format as far as I know. So, relatively underwhelming, but it's fun and just meant to be a bit of a palate cleanser. So we're going to jump back into the video. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed the booster break. Definitely fun to just take a minute and open some packs, and I feel like it kind of keeps things fresh and keeps the topics going a little bit, and plus I get to, you know, indulge a little bit on opening some stuff. I recorded a bunch of them at once, so I don't know what's going to get inserted where, but if that was good, man, crazy, crazy packs, and if it was bad, that is, you know, sad and disappointing, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it either way. Moving on to the next land, we've got the Shire. Now, this one was actually announced a while back with the initial previews for this set, I think going back almost to like March or April, but it is the mono green, and it says it ETBs unless you control a legendary creature. You can tap to add 1 green, and then you can pay 1 and a green to tap an untapped creature you control and create a food token. Again, It's all right. This set has a lot of cards that care about food and do stuff with food. So from a commander perspective, you know, playing one of the new hobbits that really benefit from food could definitely work to have additional engines with which to make them. It feels like a bit of a watered down Gilded Goose, I suppose, because Gilded Goose is definitely one of the best ways to create food tokens for a relatively low cost. I think one of the things that would have made these lands a lot better, in my personal opinion, is if they were treated as having a basic land type. So if this was like a legendary land, forest, and so on and so forth. I don't know if that would be too powerful with Modern having, you know, access to all the fetch lands and stuff, but I don't think any of these have crazy powerful effects, and you can only have one copy out, so it would have really boosted them a little bit, in my opinion, especially in Commander, to have the option to kind of get them out as a land type, but I digress. That's not what they did. Again, it's not bad. Making a food token is fine. I don't really see why you have to also tap an untapped creature you control. That just feels like a lot of investment for a food when there are other ways to do it, but maybe someone will find a way to break it or utilize it that I am not currently thinking of. I don't know. I don't see it being super potent outside of the decks that are really going to be revolving around utilizing food, and in those decks, I think you might actually have some better options. And finally, for the fifth one, we have Mines of Moria. This is a red, and it says, Mines of Moria enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. You can tap to add 1 red mana. You can pay 3 in a red and tap this to exile 3 cards from your graveyard and create 2 treasure tokens. So it is neat to see a way to make treasure tokens consistently. If you have a lot of leftover land, you can definitely utilize this to, like, store mana, quote unquote. But the cost is a little steep to me. I mean, 4 mana plus tapping this basically means you're committing 5 mana for a turn to this. Surely mono red is not going to have that much extra mana laying around, so you'd have to find a way to utilize this in some kind of a, you know, a combination multicolor deck that's able to do it. I don't know that it needed to be that extreme in terms of its requirements. I think it could have very easily been 2 in a red, maybe tap, created 2 treasure tokens. I don't think that would have been anything crazy, and it would have actually made the card a bit better. But you have people who are really, like, against the treasure mechanic, and Wizards has made a lot of cards lately that seem to support it, so who knows, maybe they were trying to find a balance without going too far over the top. It seems okay, and I could easily see a combination with cards that double the number of tokens you could put out, making extra treasure tokens and stuff like that, and then maybe you're really starting to stack up some stuff. Obviously, cards like Goldspan Dragon would make additional mana with it, but it just, you know, again, on the surface, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a card that you're going to auto-include in your deck if it's playing red. It just seems like a cute niche option that some people might find a better way to utilize, but overall, it's relatively uninspiring. So while these lands are cool, it's definitely, you know, clear that some of them are much better than others, and I don't think any of them are, like, extremely good in the premise of, like, how they're actually functioning. Maybe you guys feel differently. People who've been playing Modern a lot longer, you know, you guys think that maybe these are going to make more of an impact in that format, and there's stuff I just don't know, which is very much possible. And from a Commander perspective, which, you know, I do play quite a bit, you know, maybe people have different opinions to weigh in or ways you'd find this to be usable. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.